Good evening, everyone. This week's Parsha, it's a double Parsha, Behar-Bechukotai, Tavshin Pei Gimel. And I'd like to focus on the topic of tzedakah, of charity, that appears in Parshas Behar, the first Parsha for this week. Perik Chav Hei, Pasuk Lamed Hei, chapter 25, verse 35. Chiyamach achicha, if your brother shall begin to become if your brother will begin to slip, he'll begin to fall, and he is about to become impoverished with you, you shall strengthen him, and he shall live with you. So this pasuk is talking about, again, your brother who has become weak, he has become low, his hand is slipping, you should strengthen him. What does that mean? So Rashi comments, it means like this. By strengthen him means, do not allow him to fall, and then it's going to be hard to pick him back up. But as he's beginning to slip, that's when you should strengthen him. The Torah is saying that Chazak is telling us that if you see someone that they are not yet impoverished, they're not yet at the point that they need to ask people for financial aid, but they're close to it. They're slipping, they're falling. They're on the track to fall and to have to need financial assistance from others. The Torah says, "V'chazak strengthen the person. Don't let him fall. If he falls, it's going to be harder to pick him up, but rather prevent him from falling, prevent him from failing." That's the Torah. That's the mitzvah the Torah is giving us here. And actually, we're going to see that this is the highest level of tzedakah that a person can do, to prevent a person from becoming impoverished, to keep a person financially stable. And I want to go through from the writings of the Rambam of Maimonides, where he talks about his famous 8 levels of tzedakah, 8 levels of charity. That there are 8 levels of the performance of the mitzvah of tzedakah, and he starts from the highest to the lowest. And the highest reads like this: Chayavim anu lihizoyer b'mitzvat tzedakah. Starts like this. Shmoina malus jesh b'tzedakah zula ma'ila mizu. There are 8 levels of giving tzedakah, one above the other. The highest level is that's someone who strengthens a Jew who is slipping. He gives him a gift, or a loan, or he makes a partnership with him. He brings him into his business. Or he finds him work. In order to strengthen him, so that he doesn't need to ask other people for help. Regarding this, the Torah states, what we just read, you shall strengthen him. Meaning, strengthen him so before he falls and needs to come on to the others. Now, in some level, he is coming on to you, but he's not coming on to you at a point of already being impoverished, in a point where he doesn't have financial means anymore. Right? He hasn't fallen yet. If you can help him, he will be able to take care of himself. That's the point. The point is he hasn't fallen yet to the point where he has no option other than asking others. He has the option to be able, at least with the favor that you do for him now, that he won't have to come on to others after that. He'll be able to be self-sufficient. That is this mitzvah. That's the highest level of tzedakah. To find someone a job, to help someone be self-sufficient, and to make sure that because you now give them the means to be financially stable and not to fall into poverty, that is the highest level of tzedakah. And when the Rambam talks about what you can do, he has a couple of examples here. His first example is to give him a gift. Now you may say giving him a gift sounds exactly like tzedakah, doesn't it? You're giving him money; it's a gift. You're not asking for anything back. That's true. But number one, again, this gift is going to put him back on his feet. That's a lot different than when he give him a gift and then he has to ask somebody else for further help, or has to ask again. Here, we're talking about that you are giving him a gift, but through this, he will take care of himself. Also, as some commentaries point out, people give gifts to one another. We don't only just give charitable gifts to one another. We give gifts to each other. So therefore, now that he is not yet impoverished, he hasn't yet fallen to that level, and you give him the gift of money, and we all know what it's for, but he sees it's not as embarrassing because people give each other gifts. So therefore, you have here the highest level in this manner of giving a gift because you're helping him be financially stable. Now, understandably, the next example is better. Halva, you lend him money. In this sense, he's going to give it back. He's going to pay you back, which really means, again, that you're helping him, but not to the point that you're giving him money. You're lending him money and he'll pay you back. Makes a person feel a little bit more, makes a person feel better about themselves, even when they're taking help. Now that is absolutely the highest level. To actually give him a means of making a living, finding him a job, taking him in as a partner. There, you're literally, his dignity is complete, is upheld at the greatest level. You give him a job. He's really self-sufficient. You haven't laid out any money for him. He hasn't received any gifts or anything. He's not in debt. He's got a job. He's got the means to help himself. That is clearly the highest level within this highest level, what a person can do for someone else in this highest level of tzedakah. Now, a few interesting things about this level, and this comes from the book The Laws of Tzedakah and Meiser, which is an art scroll from the Art Scroll Halacha series. It says like this. It's very clear from the way Rashi explained the pasuk, from the way the Rambam explaining the pasuk, that we're talking about preventing a person from falling into poverty and helping them remain financially stable. Well, how about if the person already is in poverty? The mitzvah is still there. If a person already fell into poverty, but now you're helping him be financially stable, clearly that's the same idea. It's best if you can prevent him from falling into poverty. But if he has already, now to give him this means of getting back on his feet, clearly is a fulfillment there too. And there is a very interesting Gemara that is brought down in Baba Basra. Gemara says the following story. Omer Olava ben Yamin Tzaddik. There was a person known as Ben Yamin Tzaddik, means Benyamin the righteous. Sheyamamuna al kupa shel tzedakah. His job was he was in charge of dispensing of giving needy people from the communal needs. The community would have a communal fund of tzedakah, and he was in charge of it. One time, a woman came to him during a famine. She said, Rebbe, sustain me. Now, that wording, the way I understand, is more just like give me a gift. Parnaseni means sustain me. Help me be able to sustain myself and my family, as we'll see. Basically swore to her, there's nothing in the fund. It was a famine year. Lots of people needed help. He says, there's nothing in the fund to give to you. Rebbe, she said to him, Rebbe, if you don't sustain me, you're going to have a woman and 7 children dying. He went and he supported her from his own money. The Yamim, it came that later on, Yamin Tzaddik became so ill that he was about to die. The angels in heaven said to Hashem, Master of the world, Ato Amarta, you have stated, whoever sustains one soul of the Jewish people, it's like sustaining the entire world. And Yamin Tzaddik, who kept alive a woman and her 7 children, he's going to die now, and his life is going to be cut short. Miyad karlo gzar dinai. Immediately they tore up the decree, and he lived for another 22 years. So here is again a very interesting story about about the merit of sustaining someone even after they've fallen. So this highest level of mitzvah, and it's something, and this is very logical that it's going to apply even if the person has already fallen. Now, the Sefer Hasidim brings down, if you purchase an item from a needy person, meaning he has his wares and he sells them, that's also the mitzvah. That also fulfills this mitzvah. You're not giving him any money. You're not going ahead and giving him a gift. You're buying his merchandise. But now that you're buying him his merchandise, you're helping him become somewhat self-sufficient, right? I don't know if it's going to be enough to go ahead and completely make him self-sufficient, but you're clearly helping him be at some level self-sufficient. So doing business with the poor man, buying his merchandise, is a fulfillment of this mitzvah. You don't have to give up money for it. You could actually be buying something that you need, but by doing so, since you help somebody help someone with their financial stability, that is now a fulfillment of this level, this highest level of tzedakah. Okay, then they bring down another thing that's fascinating. The mitzvah b'chazakta, meaning this mitzvah now, this highest level of tzedakah, not only applies to one who helps someone who is lacking, it even applies to one who is not lacking, and you support him by ensuring his livelihood through your patronage. By purchasing from him, you have fulfilled the mitzvah chazakta, meaning by going ahead and giving business to a Jew. At the end of the day, how does he sustain himself? By the people who patronize him, by the people who come and buy his stuff. Well, if that's you, then you're sustaining his livelihood. You've just done a mitzvah. You see, that's amazing. You can actually go to a store, buy what you need, and you're doing this mitzvah because of the fact that you're sustaining this person. It's an unbelievable idea. Honestly, I haven't fully internalized it, but it comes out. You can go to a store, purchase something that you need, and you've done tzedakah. You've done the mitzvah b'chazakta, the highest level of tzedakah that the Rambam says, because you are keeping this person financially stable. He may not be lacking. He may be doing fine, but you know why he's doing fine? Because he has customers. And if you're one of those customers, you're one of the people who are making that happen for him. So it comes out that just by buying from a store owned by a fellow Jew, you are fulfilling the mitzvah of chazakta. It's amazing. That's unbelievable. And the last thing about this I want to mention that's brought down here is that one who also fulfills this level by allowing the poor person to pay back a loan a little at a time, thereby enabling him not to have to borrow again, meaning he borrowed money from you, and you allow him to pay back slowly. By doing so, he doesn't have to borrow more money. Because if he has to pay you, then he's going to be short on other money that he needs and have to borrow more. If you let him pay up slowly, you're helping his financial stability. And again, so by allowing him to pay up slowly, you're doing the mitzvah b'chazakta of strengthening a fellow Jew. Okay, that is level number one. Level number two goes like this. Okay, next. Pachas mizeh, the next level, a notch down. Hanayitzin tzedakah laniyim, you give tzedakah to the poor. Lo yada lami nasan, you don't know who you're giving to. Lo yada ha'ani mimi lokach, and the poor person doesn't know who is his benefactor. That's the next level. I mean, again, the person's already poor, and you're going ahead and giving him charity, but you're giving him in an absolutely secret way. You don't know who it's going to, and he doesn't know it's coming from you. And he says, why is this so great? Mitzvah lishma. This is a mitzvah for its own sake, which I understand that to mean that in this kind of situation, there is no thought of benefit. Meaning it's not like you're helping someone and in the back of your mind, you know he owes you something. That's not happening here because you don't know who the money's going to. And he doesn't even know who he's getting it from. So that's actually benefiting him in the sense that it saves him embarrassment of, having to face the person in some way or another who gave him the money. But because of a mitzvah lishma, by this, you have no idea who the person is, that it comes out that, again, there's no personal gain in any way. And let's say you don't know who it is and the other person knows. So in the back of your mind, there's someone who knows that it was you, and again, that person owes you something. This is how I understand what the Rambam means by a mitzvah lishma. There is no. It's all for its own sake. There's no ulterior motives, no ulterior thoughts. Not even any thoughts of ulterior gain. And so, what does it mean? How do you give stuck in a way that you don't know and he doesn't know? The answer is, in the Beis Hamikdash, there was something called Lishkas Hashoyim, the chamber of the secret ones. People would go ahead and put money in this chamber, and needy people would come and take. So you're putting the money in a place where you know it's going to get to the poor, but you don't know who's receiving it, and they don't know who's giving it. And the same thing applies in a situation where a community has a communal fund, where again, people give towards the fund, but the people don't necessarily know who they're giving to, and the recipients don't know who exactly it came from. Now, typically in this kind of situation, there's a middleman. There's a gabbai tzedakah. There's a person who's managing this fund, who may even be the one who's giving out the money, which maybe in some way kind of does lower this level a little bit, because there is a certain interaction that the poor man may have with someone, and that could be uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, you still have the advantage of the fact that you don't know and he doesn't know. That's level number 2. Level number 3, pachas mizeh, less than this. The giver knows who he's giving to, but the poor man doesn't know from whom he's taken. So you know that you're helping this person. So again, you know that you're helping this person. It's not as lishma, it's not as for its own sake as when you don't know. Okay? You know, which means you realize that this person owes you something. But the other person doesn't know that. And therefore, he doesn't feel beholden, or he doesn't feel embarrassed when in some way that if he has to face you in some way, because he doesn't know that you gave him the tzedakah. And the example that we do find, says the Rambam, is brought down in the stories like this in the Gemara, in the Talmud, of great people who used to basically drop off money by people who they knew needed, but the people didn't know it was them. And he actually says that this is the next best thing to do. If let's say the situation we said before, where you put it into a fund, you don't know who it's going to, they don't know who receiving it from, but it's being run by someone, and it's not being run very well. If that's the situation, says the Rambam, the next step is deposit the money by yourself, by the poor man, in a way that he doesn't know that it's coming from you. Okay, the next level is the next level is where the poor man knows who he's getting it from, but the giver doesn't know. The poor man knows who he's getting from. That already is going to create a certain embarrassment to him. He knows who he's getting it from. If he meets up with you or sees you, it can make him feel uncomfortable. That's what lowers this level. The discomfort that comes to the poor man by knowing who his benefactor is. But you, the benefactor, don't know it's him. And there's also the Talmud talk about people who would basically attach money to the back of their coat and purposely walk amongst the poor for the poor to take, and they don't know exactly who it is, and he doesn't know who's taking. He didn't see the people. He just kind of walked his own way, and people will come from behind and take the money, which is what he wanted them to do. So they knew who was giving them the money, but he didn't know who the recipients are. So in that situation, that's the next level of where the poor man knows who he's getting the money from, but the giver doesn't know who's getting it. Next, pachas mizeh, another level down, is a situation where the poor man knows who he's getting it from, you know who you're giving it to. However, give it to him before he asks. Okay, give it to him before he asks. Clearly, much less embarrassing, much less uncomfortable. Next level, pachas mizeh, another level down. You give him after he asks. Okay, you have to go through the discomfort of asking, but you gave him. Next, pachas mizeh, less than this. Do you actually give him less than what really helps him? You're giving him something, but it's not enough to really fully help him, but you give it to him with a cheerful expression. You show him that you're happy to help that you're happy to help him. I have to mention that I have a brother-in-law who is, he's a big baal tzedakah. He gives a lot of tzedakah, and he deals a lot with people who are coming around to collect and coming directly to ask for a donation. And I one time saw how someone approached him, and he gives the person a big smile. He has no discomfort, has no discomfort with the person approaching him. and talks to the person and smiles to the person and wishes the person that he should have success. It's really an unbelievable thing to see. Many of us, the needy person comes up to us, we start to cringe a little bit. We're not so comfortable. And again, perhaps this kind of experience of having a Jewish person come over to you to ask you for tzedakah may not happen around this area as much as it happens in New York or New Jersey. But again, these people like this do come around once in a while, even around here. And it makes us a little bit uncomfortable. But this level says that whatever it is that you're going to give him, if you're going to give him a little, but you give it with a smile, you make the person feel like a mensch and gives the person some encouragement, that is the next level of tzedakah. Now, again, everybody knows who each other are, and he asked you, but when you respond with a cheerful expression. And the last level is pachas mizeh, less than this, shita lo be'etzev. You give it to him sadly. Now, sadly means that you're not giving it to him with a cheerful expression. Because actually, let me read you a different Rambam. This is the Rambam before he goes for the 8 levels, has a introduction of sorts to giving tzedakah. And one of the things that he writes is like this. You give charity to a poor man with a sever panim rois, with a not cheerful expression. You show him that you're not happy. And your face is down and just hand it to him. You make it very clear that you're not happy doing this. Says the Rambam, if you give a poor man stuck in that fashion where you show him your expression of displeasure in doing this, but you're doing it anyway, even if you give him 1,000 gold pieces, gold coins, you've lost your merit. You lost your merit. But rather you give it to him with a cheerful expression, with joy, and you empathize with him. You show him that you feel his pain. You show him that you care about what he's going through. So you give that tzedakah with a cheerful expression, and you show him that you empathize with him. And then another thing that the Rambam writes, which is very, and you speak with him words of comfort and of encouragement. You're not just trying to give him the money, you're trying to encourage him, you're trying to support him with words. And the Rambam then says, Shoala ani mimcha, the poor man asked you for money, then you don't have any money on you. Paiseo b'devarim, appease him with words. You don't have any money, but at least, again, try to encourage him, make him feel like a mensch. It's forbidden to shout at a poor man, to raise your voice against him. And then the Rambam writes, woe to a person who shames a poor man, woe to him. Be like a father to him, both in mercy, meaning in what you can give, and with words. So clearly it is very important to fulfill the that you don't fulfill the mitzvah with a scowl. That you don't fulfill a mitzvah showing that you are unhappy. But rather, says the Rambam, do it with a cheerful expression and encourage him and support him. Now, if the Rambam said a person who gives with a negative expression loses his mitzvah, loses the merit. Well, is that a contradiction to the last level that we mentioned? The word Rambam says, Shayitan lay be'etzev, you give it to him with sadness, right? The level before was that you're not giving him, everything that he needs, but you're giving it to him with a cheerful expression. The next one is less, you give it to him be'etzev, with sadness. Didn't we just say that if you're sad when you give him that tzedakah, that you lost the merit? So the answer that I've seen is that this last level where it says you're giving him with sadness doesn't mean you're expressing it. It means you're just not being cheerful. So it means inside you're not too happy about this, but you don't show him. The higher level is show him that you're happy. Be happy and show him that you're happy. The other level, this last level of tzedakah, it still counts as tzedakah, is you're not expressing cheerfulness, and which means deep down you're not really happy about this, but you're not showing it to him. If you show him your displeasure, if you're showing you're unhappy, then you've lost the merit. That's the difference. The difference is to whether you're actually whether you're showing him displeasure or just not showing him a cheerful expression. As long as you're not showing him displeasure, you still have the mitzvah. Otherwise, as the Rambam says before, you've lost the merit, you've lost the mitzvah. And the one I just want to conclude with what the Rambam writes in his first halacha, his first paragraph, when he discusses, or actually I'll mention two things that he writes. He writes, we have to be careful of the mitzvah of tzedakah more than any other mitzvah. Giving charity, being charitable, is a sign that you are a child, a descendant of Avram Avinu. Because the pasuk says by Avram Avinu, Hashem says, I recognize Avram because he commands his children, to do tzedakah. Literally translated means to do righteousness. The Rambam says this means being charitable. Another interesting concept. Can't exactly explain what it means, but he says, and the chair of Israel, the throne of Israel, is not established, nor is the true religion, nor does the true religion stand, except through tzedakah. And the Jewish people will be redeemed through tzedakah, as the pasuk says, Zion will be redeemed in judgment, and its captives with tzedakah, with the giving of charity. Then the Rambam writes, you do not become poor from giving tzedakah. You give tzedakah the way you're supposed to, you will not become poor from it. Nor has any damage or bad come out from giving tzedakah. If you're merciful, our sages say, then heaven will be merciful upon you. And, okay. So these are the writings of the Rambam, many of the writings of the Rambam regarding this mitzvah of tzedakah. And may we be able to fulfill it properly, to fulfill it with a cheerful expression, and be able to merit Hashem's mercy for being merciful upon others. Have a wonderful evening.